Hi, I'm Christina Jaramillo, President of Personal ABM and partner at Stop the Sales Drop. And within our virtual summit that's happening June 1st through June 5th, we will be having innovation labs and interactive experience such as live sales pitches and demo reviews. And on the panel of experts that will be giving some of that live feedback is Patrick Downs. He is responsible for sales enablement and PandaDoc. And he is with me today to discuss some of the selling conversation challenges that business owners and sales leaders are continually making. So Patrick, thank you so much for joining me. And as the interactive summit session is based off your cool concept of 5 on Friday that you created with some of your colleagues in sales, can you share some of that information about what 5 on Friday is all about and what people can experience on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to. So what 5 on Friday is, it's essentially a crowdsourced peer consulting panel. We have 5 people come in, one of them being a presenter of either a pitch, a demo, or a business idea. Then the other 4 people in the room typically give feedback the last 30 minutes of the call on how that person can improve. And then we keep in touch with that person. They give us feedback on how that advice has been helping. Trying to keep it all actionable stuff that people can actually use, coming from folks that are still in the trenches. So most of the people that are coaching are actually on the phones right now selling. So it's different than having someone, that hasn't sold in 30 years come and give you advice. It's stuff that's to the moment, and that's what we're trying to focus on.
Some awesome, cool advice and then actionable things, takeaways. And it's always nice when a third party gets in there because they're unbiased and telling you how like it is and, no holds barred. I like that kind of concept.
Yeah, and a big gap that I saw in some of the smaller companies I was in is you don't really have the time or resources to do role plays. So a lot of people coming in have said they've never even had the opportunity to practice. They just went right into a call.
Ooh, that's kind of
with a
scary.
script.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I don't know how sales. I can't even, that boggles my mind and intimidates.
Saw the anxiety on your face.
Woo! So what are the conversation issues that you're continually seeing other than that kind of just being thrown in the conversation? What kind of conversation shifts should be made during this time after C19 as we kind of hopefully go upwards?
Yeah, it's interesting that we've gotten all kinds of different people coming on from, SaaS, which is my background, all the way to people that sell like watches and high-end luxury items. The common trend across that entire spectrum has been that people are just often throwing up their own stuff onto people without making it a two-way conversation. I imagine you've probably experienced that before.
Yes.
In your life.
Quite a few times.
It's common. I mean, I get a lot of people prospecting me, and I'll take demos on an almost daily basis now. And I'd say 99% of the time, I don't get asked more than 2 questions before the screen share comes up, and they just dump everything on me, and it's not a conversation at all. It's very common.
Poor things.
Yeah. So I see that a lot from the people coming on 5 on Friday, and often the advice we're giving them is, trying to make it more of a discovery conversation and not just getting right into a deck or a pitch. And then also using more open-ended questions, because the most common trap we run into is when people will show something or say something, then they'll say, hey, do you have any questions? Which doesn't work, because when you ask someone that, they have to almost admit that they don't understand something, which nobody wants to do. Or they'll just be like, I can't really come up with anything because I wasn't paying attention because you just talked for 20 minutes. So helping them craft questions is key.
Your demo and sales deck should kind of be like, if you have a hour call, it should be on the second half.
Correct. Yep.
I feel like you can cater it better. I mean, it's much easier for me to say it because I'm not the one actually doing it. But I feel like if people just stopped and just slow down for a second and thought about it and how they would like to be sold or pitched or shown something, I think that just alone would give them some great insights. But it's interesting that you're seeing such a commonality over various industries and products and things like that. But
it's the same everywhere. It's interesting to see that people are experiencing the same problems, and similar solutions can be given to everybody. I've found that most people that get the advice that we give, which is kind of similar across most of them, see a lot of value in it. So something we've noticed is that there's a lot of gatekeeping in different industries, like, oh, you've never done this, so that wouldn't work. Is like a most common pushback you would get on advice. I'm sure you've heard that before as well. It's kind of obnoxious.
Yeah, but, and if you don't give the person a chance, how are they going to learn?
Yeah, and so much of sales is transferable. There's obvious things that you need to be open for. Like if you're going to enterprise, you need to understand that the sales cycle is going to change and the type of people you're talking to need a slightly different style
Mhm.
of approach, but it's not that different. I mean, it's 80% still the same game. So the advice of asking open-ended questions and digging really deep into the why behind someone's even talking to you, I think will always transfer.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, I think people just like to talk about themselves and their problems. And if you're listening, they will appreciate it that much more. I think I'd just be more successful, but that's a whole other topic. Um, can you just share some information about you yourself, other than just Five on Friday, like what your background is, what you're doing, and why you're participating in our Stop the Sales Drop Summit?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. My background is in English, actually. I wanted to be an English teacher, and at that same time, I also wanted to be an actor, and it
Awesome.
was very much a creative type in college and high school. I ran into a couple difficulties and ended up stumbling, as many people do, across the country, though. So, a fairly long stumble from New Hampshire to Arizona into a sales job at Yelp. So I immediately fell in love with it. It was something that I didn't even know was a career. I mean, it's very, very rare that someone's like, hey, do you want to get into software sales or do you want to get into advertising sales?
Yes.
Probably the most I've heard of that is Mad Men, right?
Yes,
I mean,
seriously. Yeah.
account executive. So that's kind of what I thought my account executive role at Yelp was going to be, was drinking bourbon and
Yeah.
smoking in an
If
office in New
only.
York. That would have been nice, but it was still a good experience. That was about 5 or 6 years ago. So since then, I've made an effort to transfer more into a coach or trainer sort of role, doing that within my individual contributor roles and focusing on helping everybody on my team. I've always been that kind of person where, like, if I discover a process or something that works for me, I want to make sure it's applied to the group. So doing that across all my jobs, it eventually just naturally became an extension of me doing that full time. So I've been doing enablement and training for only about 7 months now, but it's been an amazing experience, and I'm excited to bring what I've learned to Stop the Sales Drop.
That's cool. It's nice and it's refreshing to see that people are like, I learned something that's working. I want you to do it too, so that you're successful. Because unfortunately, I'm sure you've seen in sales, it can be kind of competitive. So not everyone's like in that same kind of boat. But I like that.
100%.
I like it. Okay. So thank you so much, Patrick, for joining me. I appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to your session. I want to let everyone know to please join us June 1st through the 5th for our Stop the Sales Drop Summit. You can learn more about it at the site stopthesalesdrop.com.